Hello everyone, welcome to my video discussion as of today. Although we are actually doing the modular delivery in our lesson, but I think it is also beneficial for you as a student if we are actually doing this kind of video discussion. So welcome to MAPE. Our topic as of today is all about East Asian arts, and of course you might ask, what are the countries that has been part of East Asia? So here are 6 countries that has been part of East Asia. So we have China, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, and Mongolia. Now, let us learn more about China. So China, officially the People's Republic of China, is a sovereign state located in East Asia. It is the world's most populous country with a population of over 1.35 billion. That is why their government created the one-child policy to lessen the increase of their population. Now, in East Asia, the objects or items that are usually put into paintings are called subjects, themes, or motifs. This may be about animals, people, landscape, and anything about the environment. So if you actually drew something and then you actually put animals or a flower, then that animal or flower that you put into your drawing, that's your subject. Now, painting subject or theme. In China, you have flowers and birds. That means that the painters should draw all about flowers and bird theme. Number 2, they do have human figures. Number 3, landscapes. Number 4, animals. Number 5, palaces and temples. Number 6, bamboos and stones. In Japan, they be able to have the scenes from everyday life. Next is narrative scenes crowded with figures and details. That means that they actually been drawing or painting all about what are the interactions or what are the things that they have been doing in a certain day. Next is South Korea or North Korea. Subjects are divided into 5 categories. Number 1, we have landscape paintings. Again, it's all about sceneries. Number 2, minwa, the traditional folk painting. Number 3, the 4 gracious plants, mainly the plum blossoms, orchids or wild orchids, and then chrysanthemums. Number 4 is bamboo, and number 5 is portrait. Painting started from prehistoric man, and they actually used red ochre and black pigment. Early paintings often showed hunting scenes of man chasing various animals such as horses, rhinoceros, lions, buffaloes, and mammoths. Of course, they are been using red ochre and black pigment to draw because, of course, that time painting materials such as the one that we are actually using today is not available. That means that their painting is very natural based on the trees and the fruits itself. The history of Eastern painting is as old as the civilization of China. It is historically comparable to Western painting. Eastern countries continued to influence each other's productions of arts over the centuries. Now, as you can see in the picture, there is a horse, and then there are women who actually ride the horses, and then this actually shows the scenes of everyday life or their daily living. Now, important aspect in East Asian painting. So landscape painting was regarded as the highest form of Chinese painting. They also consider the 3 concepts of their arts: nature, heaven, and humankind. Again, take note of the word landscape, which is considered as the highest form of Chinese painting. Now, silk was often used as the medium to paint upon, but it was quite expensive. That means that, of course, the painter usually are the richest one. But then again, when the Han court eunuch Kailun invented the paper in the 1st century AD, it provided not only a cheap and widespread medium for writing, but painting became more economical. That means that everybody can use because it is very affordable regardless of the social status that they actually have. So the ideologies of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism played important roles in East Asian art as well. Chinese art expresses the human understanding of the relationship between nature and human. This is evident in the form of painting of landscapes, bamboos, trees, and flowers, and etc. This might be called the metaphysical, Taoist aspect of Chinese painting. So metaphysical is associated with it's actually what you see in your eyes. So the history of Korean painting dates to 108 CE or Common Era. When it first appears as an independent form, it is said that until the Joseon dynasty, the primary influence of Korean paintings were Chinese paintings because of course they are actually part of the East Asia. Mountain and water are important features in Korean landscape painting because it is a site for building temples and buildings. As you can see in the movies, they are fond of making temples and buildings in the mountain with a lot of water in it. Landscape painting represents both a portrayal of nature itself and a codified illustration of the human view of nature and the world. So, painting is closely related to calligraphy among the Chinese people. So, the word calligraphy associates with the art of beautiful handwriting. So, a beautiful penmanship. So, I have here a picture that shows a picture of a flower. And then at the right side of it, there's a handwriting. So each of the Chinese way of doing painting, of course, there's a picture or a subject. They can actually use nature. They can use flowers and birds. Then after that, there is also corresponding calligraphy in it, or a definition, or what is the painting is all about. So that's part of their painting. Did you know that the earliest known Chinese logographs or ancient writing symbols are engraved on the shoulder bones of large animals and on tortoise shells? I bet you didn't know. So for this reason, the script found on these objects is commonly called Jayagowen, or shell and bone script. It was said that Kang Ji, the legendary inventor of Chinese writing, got his ideas from observing animals' footprints and birds' claws marks on the sand as well as other natural phenomena. He then started to work out simple images from what he conceived as representing different objects such as sun, moon, mountain, water, rain, wood, dog, cattle, and horse. Again, because of the invention of writing, of course, that's the time that they've been actually using penmanship as part of their painting. And the inventor again is known as Mr. Kang Ji. So now, let's proceed. Temples are the usual subjects in East Asian painting. So as you can see in a lot of movies and pictures, they do have a lot of temples in East Asia, especially in China. So East Asian temples and houses have sweeping roofs because they believe that it will protect them from the elements of water, wind, and fire. Buddhists believe that it helped ward off evil spirits which were deemed to be straight lines. So in each of their houses, they do have the curved lines or the sweeping roof because again, they actually believe that it could actually protect them to any phenomena or evil spirit. So the figures at the tips are called roof guards. So there is actually figurines in the roof of or at the end of the roof. Okay, there are three main roofs that traditional Chinese architecture influence other Asian architecture. First is straight incline, so more economical for common Chinese architecture. So that means that it's very simple and anyone can actually use this type of architecture. The second one is the multi-inclined roofs with two or more sections of incline. These roofs are used for residences of wealthy Chinese. So only the wealthy people or Chinese can actually have this multi-inclined roof. Next is sweeping. Has curves that rise at the corners of the roof. These are usually reserved for temples and palaces, although it may also be found in the homes of the wealthy. Again, only the richest individual can actually have this kind of roof or house. Next is woodblock printing. It is a technique for printing text, images, or patterns used widely throughout East Asia. It originated in China as a method of printing on textiles, but eventually became a method for printing on paper. So woodblock printing. Now, this method was adopted in Japan during the Edo period and became one of their oldest and most highly developed visual arts. The most common theme in Japan for printmaking describes scenes from everyday life. It narrates the scene and is often packed with figures and detail. Again, Japan is very much known on creating the manga animes. So that's their way also in painting or in drawing. Japanese ukiyo-e, the best known and most popular style of Japanese art is ukiyo-e, which is Japanese for pictures of the floating world, and it is related to the style of woodblock print, making the show scenes of harmony and carefree everyday living. Ukiyo-e was produced in a diversity of different media, including painting, and became an art domain of the upper classes and royalty, but later was also produced by the common. Paintings in East Asia do not only apply on paper, silk, and wood. Performance of kabuki in Japan and Peking opera in China use their faces as a canvas for painting, while mask painting is done in Korea. So they are much using all the mediums that you can actually use in painting. Again, not just in paper, in silk, or in wood, but also in the people faces. East Asian countries have theatrical forms like Peking opera of China and kabuki of Japan. The performers from China and Japan usually paint faces depending on the character or personification they are portraying. So aside from painting on silk, paper, and printing on woods, Chinese and Japanese also painted their face and Korean paint mask for theatrical and festival performances. So it's very important that they do have such kind of makeup or painting in their faces to portray the character that they're actually portraying. Now, Peking opera face painting or Jinju Lianpo is done with different colors in accordance with the performing character's personality and historical assessment, and each of the color represents something about their character and personality. The hero type characters are normally painted in relatively simple colors, whereas enemies and bandits, rebels, and other have more complicated designs on their faces. So again, if the hero character is much more simple type of colors has been put in the face, but when there is an enemy or a bandit, that means that they do have a very much more complicated designs being painted in their respective faces. It is traditional special way of makeup in Chinese operas in pursuit of the expected effect of performance. Originally, Lianpo is called the false mask. Again, take note of the word Lianpo. It is called the false mask. Now, we have the meanings of colors for face painting. We have guanmo. Guanho, it means red. So the painting is more on red colors. It indicates devotion, courage, bravery, uprightness, and loyalty. So as you can see in the picture, there's a lot of red color in his face. Next is Wang Fang. Yellow signifies fearlessness and ambition and cool-headedness. Next is Zuen. A green face tells the audience that the character is not only impulsive but also lacks self-restraint. So this type of person is easily get angry. So beware of this kind of people like Zuen. Next is Zhang Fei. Black symbolizes roughness and fierceness. The black face indicates either a rough and bold character or an impartial and selfless personality. So it's like the personality of our dear President Mr. Rodrigo Duterte. Lian Po, the purple stands for uprightness and cool-headedness, while the reddish purple part indicates a just and noble character. So that means that he's kind of somewhat a good individual. Okay. Next is Cao Cao. White suggests treachery, suspiciousness, and craftiness. It is common to see the white face of the powerful villain on stage. So if you can actually watch a lot of Chinese drama or movies, it means that if the face is very white, it means that of course it's the villain of the story, because again the white color represents the type of personality, which is treachery, suspiciousness, and craftiness. Next is Zhanggan. The clown or Chu in Chinese Peking opera has special makeup patterns called Shaohulian. The petty painted face, sometimes as a small patch of chalk, is painted around the nose to show a mean and secretive character. At times, Shaohulian is also painted on a young page or jesting to enliven at the performance. Note: gold and silver colors are usually used for gods and spirits. Kabuki makeup of Japan. Kabuki makeup or kasho is already in itself an interpretation of the actor's own role through the medium of the facial features. On stage, these interpretations becomes a temporalizations of makeup in collaborations with the audience. The result is a decoding of the drama traced but in the graphic designs of the painted face, according to Masao Yamaguchi. So kabuki makeup is also another way of face painting, which has two types. Standard makeup applied for most actors. Komadori makeup applied to villains and heroes. It is composed of every dramatic lines and shapes using colors and representing certain qualities. And just like for example, dark red equals to passion or anger, dark blue depression or sadness, pink is youth, light green means calm, black means fear, purple means nobility. Some examples of face painting are the Muki Migoma or Sujigoma, where the lines are painted onto an actor's face. These are then smudged to soften them. The makeup and perfume worn throughout performances were highly significant to the stories that were made. Again, the makeup and their costumes or the perfume being worn is actually reflected the kind of personality that they've been actually portraying. So Komadori, so the painted faces of Japanese kabuki theater. So these are the example. Now next is Korean mask. So Korean mask called tal or tial originated with religious meaning, just like the mask of other countries which also have religious or artistic origins. Korea has a rich history of masks. They use it in the funeral services to help banish evil spirits and theater plays dating back to the prehistoric age. So these are the examples of Korean mask. So unlike kabuki of Japan and Chinese Peking opera, it is a kind of mask, while on the other hand, the Chinese Peking opera and kabuki of Japan, it is being put the painting into the face. Masks were also used for shamanistic rites and were kept within temples where they were honored with offerings. By the 12th century, the mask became part of elaborate dances and dramas. So if they have been doing something, if there's an evil spirit, then that's the time that they're been actually doing shamanistic rites, and they actually using again the mask. The roles of colors in Korean mask. The first is black, red, and white. It's bright and vibrant colors that help establish the age and race of the figure. Half red and half white mask symbolizes the idea that the wearer has two fathers, Mr. Red and Mr. White. Dark face mask indicates that the character was born of an adulterous mother. Some masks have moving parts like winking, just like this, or shifting eyes and moving mouths. To further add to the lifelike features of the mask, black fabric is draped from the top of the mask over the wearer's head to simulate hair. So these are examples of Korean traditional painting masks. Paper arts and knot tying. So paper was first invented by Kai Lun of the Eastern Han Dynasty in China. It is indeed one of the greatest contributions of ancient China in the development of arts. So the paper has been started in China. So folk arts of China, we do have the paper cut, the paper folding, the Chinese knots, and the paper kites. The earliest documentation showing paper folding is a picture of a small paper boat in an edition of Tractatus de Sparia Mondae from 1940 by Johannes de Sacrobosco. So I know that most of us can actually use or can create paper boat using our paper. In China, traditional funerals including burning yunbao, which is a folded paper that look like a gold nuggets or ingots called sai chi. This is also used for other ceremonial practices. This kind of burning is commonly done at their ancestors' graves during the ghost festival. So this is an example of sai chi. A sai chi is a type of silver or gold ingot currency used in China until the 20th century. The name is derived from the Cantonese word meaning fine cell. So it's just like more on the gold, but another type of materials being used. Today, imitation of gold C's are used as symbol of prosperity by Chinese and are frequently displayed during Chinese New Year. So it's part of the tradition. The Philippines do have a type of having 13 fruits during New Year celebration, but in their tradition they also have been using gold C's. Okay, so the gold paper folded look like a size C. Okay, origami. The term origami came from ori, meaning folding. Again, ori meaning folding, and kami meaning paper. It is a traditional Japanese art of paper folding, which started in the 17th century AD and was popularized internationally in the mid-1990s. It eventually evolved in a modern art form. So, origami butterflies were used during the celebration of Shinto weddings to represent the bride and groom. So, paper folding had already become a significant aspect of Japanese ceremonies by the Heian period in Japanese history. So flowers, animals, birds, fish, geometric shapes, and dolls are the common models used in Japanese origami. So this is the example of Japanese origami. Okay, now, did you know that the best known Japanese origami is the paper crane? Now, An ancient Japanese legend promises that anyone who holds 1,000 origami cranes will be granted a wish by a crane. Some stories say that you are granted eternal good luck instead of just one wish, such as long life or recovery from illness or injury, and can be given as a gift to anybody. They believe that the crane is a mystical or holy creature and is said to live for 1,000 years. Now, paper cuttings, or this is the example of paper cuttings, usually symmetrical in design when unfolded and adopt the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac as theme and motifs, and mostly choose the red color. The earliest use of paper was made as a pattern for lacquers, decorations on windows, doors, and walls. Chinese Buddhists believe that hanging window flowers or decorative paper cuttings like pagodas and other symbols of good luck attract good luck and drive away evil spirits. The process of paper cutting is aided by a pair of scissors or a knife and other sharp, flat cutter. Xianzi is the first type of paper cutting design. Since paper was invented by Chinese, the cutouts are also used to decorate doors and windows. They are sometimes referred to chuanghua, meaning window flower. Kite making. Okay, I know that some of you really love, especially boys, love to fly the kite. So kite making, a kite is an ensemble or joint aircraft that was traditionally made of silk or paper with a bowline and a resilient bamboo. Today, kites can be made out of plastic. Kites are flown for recreational purposes, display of one's artistic skills. Chinese kites originated in Weifang, Shandong. China was the capital city of kites during Song Dynasty and by the Ming Dynasty. Since 1984, the city is hosting the largest international kite festival on earth. According to Joseph Needham, one of the important contributions of Chinese in science and technology to Europe is the kite. Chinese kites may be differentiated into four main categories: centipede, hard-winged kites, soft-winged kites, and flat kites. So those are the four categories. Did you know that the famous 5th century BC Chinese philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban were said to be the inventors of kites? Later on, paper kite was used as a message for a rescue mission for measuring distances, testing the wind, lifting men, signaling, and communication for military operation. That's quite very useful. The earliest known Chinese kites were flat, not bowed, and often rectangular. Later, tailless kites incorporated a stabilizing bowline. Kites were decorated with mythical motifs and legendary figures. Knot tying. In Korea, decorative knot work is known as mediop or goldore, or double connection knot, often called Korean knot work or Korean knots. So this is the example of knot tying. Zonggo is a Chinese decorative handicraft art that began as a form of Chinese folk art in the Tang and Song dynasty in China. In Japan, knot tying is called hana musubi. It emphasizes on braids and focuses on individual knots. Glossary. Art refers to visual arts which cover the creation of images or subjects in fields including painting, sculpture, printmaking, photography, and other visual media. Art form is an activity or a piece of artistic work that can be regarded as a medium of artistic expression. Artwork refers to a work of art in a visual arts and a piece of conceptual art. Calligraphy is the art of beautiful handwriting with pen or brush, with the use of ink, paint, or watercolor and paper, silk, or any